Now, ransomware attacks are the fastest growing form of cybercrime in the world. These happen through the use of malicious software, with many companies experiencing an increase in these attacks. Now, as we wrap up Cybersecurity Awareness Month, we take a look at security threats, the trends as well, especially what businesses and government entities should be aware of. I'm joined in studio by Dimitri Fousekis, Bitcrack Cybersecurity's Chief Technology Officer. Good afternoon, Dimitri. Welcome to today, and thank you very much for your time.
Thanks very much, Dan.
We live in dangerous times just all around. I mean, when we thought the Internet of Things is going to change the way we are and the way we live, we thought all are going to be safe and well, but it's not turning out to be like that. Yes. Currently, what are the biggest cyber threats? I've just mentioned the issue of ransomware.
Thanks. So, ransomware remains quite a big threat, and it has adapted over time. It's not just about trying to encrypt people's data and demanding funds for it. It's extended to getting into corporations, stealing critical information of theirs, and then holding that data ransom that if they're not paid, that data will be released and the company will experience whatever negative PR is associated with that. So that is one of the trends that continues, but also coming on the back of exiting after the pandemic, where companies were forced into a whole different way of working. They're now forced to again adopt a whole different way, which is either a hybrid approach or returning to the office, and that has resulted now in a whole new
Many more of us are now online than before the pandemic.
Yes, certainly a lot more.
Yeah. So the biggest threats, I mean, the other day I interviewed another cybersecurity specialist who was saying governments are tending to be the most ones that are attacked, but our government in particular has seen more cyber attacks in the past year or two compared to other sectors of our society.
Yes, so governments are targeted quite often for two reasons primarily. One being that often they haven't invested enough in the infrastructure, or the infrastructure is just too decentralized and it's not being protected as well. But secondly, also it's because people may have a vested interest in getting data from governments because they can feed back into intelligence that they may be trying to look for as well.
Yeah. So what are the new trends? Are you seeing, what are you as Bitcrack seeing? What are the new trends that are emerging, affecting, I mean, whether it's businesses or governments, and in terms of cybersecurity today?
So new trends that we're seeing, I'm sure you've seen artificial intelligence getting mentioned everywhere. It's impacting us all over the place now. That is also coming into the fore, being used not only for defensive tools, but because it's got the inherent ability to analyze large amounts of data and look for patterns, attackers can use that as well and look for ways and new ways and methods of attacking people.
So AI has got its bad side as well.
It's got a bad side as well, yes. So while it's very good for defense, it also works very well for someone who's trying to get into somewhere or hack something as well.
Tell me, Dimitri, who does the hacking nowadays? Who's hacking us?
So it's various entities. You still have your drive-by, as you call them, attacks, which are basically scripts that are being run on the internet looking for low-hanging fruit that could be attacked, something easy that could be attacked. But you also have your criminal syndicates who have realized the financial potential that exists, whether it's ransomware or whether it's actually attacking users to get fraud from them somehow, or to actually steal, even transfer funds and steal funds from financial institutions. And then, of course, you get your state-sponsored entities who are trying to feed their intelligence by getting access to systems that they shouldn't be having access to and backfeeding that information.
So you have cyber spies.
Yeah.
They're looking out and trying to get information. So data is still very much precious in that space. They're looking for that, not just looking for money.
No, the data can be money in itself, very much so, yeah.
Yeah, and in South Africa, when it comes to businesses, where's the most pain in the cybersecurity world for businesses? What are you seeing as Bitcrack?
So what we're seeing with our clients primarily is not only trying to stay a step ahead all the time of what is changing in cybersecurity, but also managing things like the human element, because as humans and as people, we are often the weakest link when it comes to cybersecurity. And you know, it doesn't matter how much we remember to do something. Every day we are trying to accomplish something, and we don't always remember that security is actually something that needs to travel along with that. So often Staff or users can be the weakest link in a company as well. We see that. For example, the use of weak passwords comes to the fore. And then also just companies trying to also find and allocate the budget to stay ahead of all of these attacks constantly, while actually enabling the business to carry on doing what the business does. So at Bitcrack, we see quite a bit of that happening. And in South Africa, the companies, especially in the financial sector, they do well at keeping ahead and keeping abreast of all the attacks that we're seeing.
Yeah, I'm just thinking now, besides an office setup with a laptop or a desktop, we use a lot of these devices, and also nowadays even banking apps and stuff like that. When you look at that landscape as Bitcrack, in South Africa, are you seeing a lot of, let's call it consumer cybercrime on devices, or is it also prevalent in office setups?
So we are unfortunately quite targeted for cybercrime on devices as end users of these devices, and especially more so as we enter a period now where shopping is going to increase. There's going to be specials coming out soon.
Oh yes, it was Black Friday.
Exactly,
November is upon us. Yeah.
So the criminals are aware of this. They're aware of when people want to part with more money, and maybe are letting their guard down a little bit because they're so focused on something else. So we will see a spike of attacks, phishing attacks, attacking people through fraud on their devices, trying to bypass bank security and so forth to steal funds. So that's definitely going to be there. And South Africa is not different to the rest of the world with those kind of attacks.
Okay, so it is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. We're having this chat with you. We've spoken to other players in the space just to get a sense of what to do and what not to do. What are the best tips then? I mean, let's just take it in stages. From a consumer perspective, with this example we've just used, with November being upon us, the festive season is also upon us. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff on our devices, looking for bargains and looking for the perfect holiday destination right now. What are the do's and what are the don'ts?
Okay. So as a consumer, the do's are whenever you're receiving a special from somewhere, we're going to be receiving emails, unfortunately, this time of the year, and SMSs advertising.
And WhatsApps nowadays.
And the WhatsApps. When you're opening them and you're browsing, always keep in the back of your mind to look at what it is you're actually going to. If it's a particular store
don't just
that's
click a link.
Right. If it's a particular store that's advertising, make sure you're actually on their website when you're shopping. Look at the address that you actually went to, and so you didn't get caught up on some kind of a phishing or a fake website. Also, use the security the banks are providing. Ensure that you've got your multi-factor authentication on your apps that's asking you to verify transactions. Keep your card limits low, especially for ATM withdrawals and things like that. And even the tap to pay. If you can, try and keep that a bit minimized, because that can also be abused. So those are the do's. And the don'ts is, don't be too quick to run into something that looks great and that's offering such a wonderful special. What these criminals are doing is they're socially engineering us. They're playing on the fact that we are busy, we like a good bargain, we're looking for something that we want to buy quickly, and so they're hoping that we're going to leave behind all the security things we've learned and just try and go ahead and
getting excited about a bargain.
Right. And
businesses as Bitcrack, our South African businesses in this case, just to talk about home, investing properly in skills as well, let alone software that is needed for cybersecurity to keep themselves secure. We've seen government, like police recently, they were hacked, their system. We've seen the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, I think it was last year sometime, the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development was hacked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so some businesses are and some are not, and I think it generally comes down to what the budget is being prioritized for. In some cases, it may not be prioritized correctly. In some cases, there simply isn't any to put where it needs to go, and so nothing more can be done about that. But in South Africa, we certainly have skills. We are, from a skills perspective, we have some very skilled cybersecurity resources and people in this country, and we continue to produce very skilled resources, both in the private sector and everywhere else. So we do have the necessary skill, but I think companies are also trying now to deal with coming out of a time when it was very difficult for them and where they're going to allocate budget for security. Okay,
finally for you, Dimitri, if you look at this landscape that you guys are busy with every day as Bitcrack, where is the single biggest gap today or challenge for us as a country when it comes to cyber security matters?
From a Bitcrack perspective, what we find, especially when we do our audits and things, is that education in cybersecurity is something that needs to be worked on a lot. Not just when you're an adult or when you're in a company. Start embedding an understanding of cybersecurity from young people that are interacting on their phones already, all the way through adult life, so that we're constantly aware of the attacks and how they change and what we can do about them. So education is something that definitely needs continued focus and increased focus.
We need to get more educated and get education around cybersecurity issues. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks very much.
This afternoon. That's Dimitri Fousekis, Bitcrack Cybersecurity's Chief Technology Officer, just talking to us as we wrap up Cybersecurity Month. Well,